In this quick tip, I'll show you how to use the Roland TR909 drum machine as a basic drum sequencer capable of triggering other external MIDI devices. For the best experience, I recommend watching the clip on a larger display, such as a TV, etc. Put the clip in full screen mode and set the resolution to 1080p via the settings widget down on the bottom right. If you learn something new, hit like, feel free to share, and for notifications on upcoming quick tips, click subscribe and ding the bell. For those of you after classic drum machine kits for various samplers, including the 909, stop by the TONELABs store and browse ready-made kits that you can load directly into your MPC, ASR or SB1200. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you're on Instagram, drop by for a look at TONELAB. So there's this nifty external instrument function that the 909 possesses, which allows you to trigger an external MIDI device from an underlying layer attached to each pattern. To access this external instrument layer, while the 909 is stopped, enter either one of the pattern write modes by holding down Shift and pressing either step mode or tap mode. I'll choose step, but we could also use tap mode if you'd like to play your rhythm in real time. Then hold down Shift and press the external instrument button, and you should notice it glows steadily. Now when you hit play, the 909 will play any of its own internal sounds while sending out MIDI notes that correlate to any lit steps across your measure and out via both the rear MIDI output ports. But these numbers, labelled 1 through 16 across the bottom here, also correlate to different instruments you can select while the 909 is playing. By holding down the Instrument Select button, selecting any number 1 through 16. Doing this selects a single key or note across a keyboard, starting from C1, C sharp 1, D1, D sharp 1, all the way up to D sharp 2, that you can then trigger across your timeline while the 909 is playing. So you may need to configure your external device to specifically catch those notes. But doing this enables you to trigger notes over a range of a little more than an octave. If you were to tether a MIDI synth to the other end of the MIDI output cable, you could potentially trigger a bass line or maybe even some chords. That is, if you don't mind working out the instrument to note allocation, which I'll leave in the description below. So let's give it a shot. For this demonstration, I'll use the trusty SB1200, which is a fine candidate for something like this. But then again, so are many other samplers, such as the Akai S900/S950, or maybe even another drum machine. I've loaded up the SB1200 626 kit available from the TONELABs store. And now I'll play a basic house pattern that I programmed earlier. Press stop. Put the 909 into step pattern write mode. Hold down Shift and press external instrument so it glows steadily. Now I'll start the 909 and lay down some steps, which you can probably hear is triggering the 626 kit in the SB1200. I'll add some more, but this time in tap mode. What's even cooler is now I can add some of that classic 909 swing by toggling the external mode off, like so. Dial in some swing. And now the 909 sounds in the SP1200 are also subjected to that same swing. Unfortunately, the 909's flam feature only applies to its own internal sounds. But from here, I could toggle the external instrument mode back on, then start the 909, and again holding down Instrument Select to select any one of 16 instruments, which essentially could trigger 16 different notes in an external MIDI device. Then you can plant triggers across any step in your measure and place more triggers down in alternate keys/instruments. And as you can probably hear, a different sound is now being triggered inside the SP1200 from the 909, which is pretty cool. A few things I should point out are, by default, the external instrument will trigger via MIDI channel 11. If you like, you can change this by stopping the 909, put it into track mode, then while holding down the last step button, select your preferred MIDI channel number 1 through 16. Another thing is that 909 MIDI triggers are just short note on and note off MIDI messages, so unfortunately there's no sustain or note length available. The underlying external instrument layer also has its own total accent. So you can increase the velocity via the total accent dial here. The total accent strength has a modest velocity range from a minimum of 64 up to a maximum of 95. But just remember that the total accent strength is shared between both internal and external layers. And then obviously, availability of velocity will ultimately depend on the external device and its features and/or MIDI implementation. So quite a modest drum sequencer at best, but a lot of fun to mess with nonetheless. Another thing that's quite handy is that you can clear and/or copy the external instrument layer from any particular pattern to another without disturbing the top layer, and vice versa. So it's almost as if these external patterns exist within their own unique layer beneath the internal patterns that you can swap out by using the copy function. To do that, make sure your 909 is stopped, select an empty or designated pattern, hold down Shift, and without letting go, hit the copy button. Now select the pattern you'd like to copy, hit enter, and release. Pretty cool considering Roland built a feature like this into their first MIDI drum machine. There's more quick tips just like this here on the channel, plus more comprehensive tutorials over on the parent channel for the SP1200 and 909, among many others at TONELAB. If you found that useful, hit like, share, and for upcoming quick tip notifications, hit subscribe and ding the bell. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.